Hello everyone, I am Husam Talib from Chukurova University, Computer Engineering 4th grade. In this video and in this presentation, I will give you a little information about the internship that I have done in the last week in Electropollution and Mechatronics for in their office in the Chukurova Technocant. So first of all, in the first day of our presentation of my internship, I just get in touch with the staff and the employees in the company office. They told me more about the project that the company are working on and the project that I will concern in and I will work on either. Then I have to had or to recap my background information about the C sharp and with the concept of the classes, abstract classes, inheritance interfaces, and some important concept like that. Then I had another course on the ASP.NET, Razors, MVC, which is stands for model view control structure, and then I have to had a little bit recapping my background information about the MySQL, or not MySQL, but server, Microsoft SQL Server, and how we can treat to and with tables for creating, updating, inserting records to that table, joining tables, and some other important concepts related to the Microsoft SQL. After that, I started my plugin by for uh, they assigned to me three tables to work on, which was the bank information for the employee, and the emergency info and social media accounts. So in the structure of our plugin, which will be installed on the backbone on the system, company system, we have this backbone consists of the core folder, which has the domain folder. In the domain folder, for each table we are creating a class. This class is represent the entity or the data that will be written to the database table. So each field in this class represents a column in the bank table in the database. So we have to specify this class fields accurately, and the data types of this class is more important. After that, after we are creating this class, which is represent the entity which is a record in the database, we are have to specify some informations or some constraints about this or about that table. For example, in the bank info table, we have the HR employee ID is column is an integer, it's not nullable, and it's a foreign key for the employee table. And the bank name is a string, account type, IBAN, and also they are all string, as you can see here. After we are specified some constraints on our table columns, so we have to create migration. The migrations is a class used for creating that table. So we are now aiming to create that table by overriding the up method from which is in the auto reversing migration class. We are creating our table on the database, but something important here that each migration can be done only one, because we are using the tag helper, which is the migration ID, the schema name, and migration processing type. The migration ID, it's not about the time and the date and some ID. So when we are creating a table, these migrations and this ID will be saved and stored in a database table called migration. So this table cannot be created, and when we need to create another table, we have to create another migration class. After that, we have the services. Services is a classes that we are using for specifying some function and some functionality that we need to do over the database table. So we have we need to insert some data to the table, or updating some data from the table. Otherwise, we may need to retrieve data from table, or sometimes we need to delete. So we have to specify functions for each one of that tables, for each action of that operations. So as you maybe we need to have more than one action for deleting. As you can see here, we can delete using by passing a list of employees, or we can delete by passing an item itself, or either we can delete by passing the ID of the item we need to be deleted. So we have multiple versions of each operation. We need to do it according to the needs of our system. After that, we have the web folder. In the web folder, we have two areas, which is the user interface area and the admin area. But since the company was working on developing the dashboard, so we are specified or concerned on developing the admin area. And in the admin area, we have five folders, which one of them is the models. In the model, we have three models for each table. For each table, we have three models. These models is as so. We have a model which used for storing data that are entered from the users, and some operation maybe need to be done on this data before it be reflected to the database. So when we are so the models are the intermediate point between the database and the user interface. So and all operation need to be done over this data will be done on the model. And in the list model, we have an inner class for localization labels and views labels, table labels we are using in our system. And after that, in the search model, also we have the tables or the fields that we are searching on the table by using these fields, as you can see. The other thing, we have the factories. In the factories, we are initializing some data for the models that we have created. So as you can see here, since we have three models, so we need to create three object or three methods that initialize each model, initialize at model itself. After that, we have the controller. The controller is the brain point of our system. So all the job will be done in the controller. So the transaction and the transitions between views from one view to another, or processing some operations on the data, or interactions between the human resources and user interface and the database, all that done using the controller. So when the user clicking, for an example, a button, so it's firing an action. This action maybe it's specify or do some operations, and then it will be redirecting to another page of review. So as you can see here, we have actions in our controller As you will see here, here is our controller. We have action for indexing, listing, creating, or also we have action for editing some page or model. As you can see here in the model, with also in the controller, we are also using the HTTP methods or which is HTTP post, get, delete, update, and so on. After the controller, we have also the views, which are our not last, but in the views we have that the user interfaces that will be done. So we have views or pages for creating, editing, listing, or sometimes when we have an intermediate transactions between these pages, as you can see here in this views we are using the razor technology. We can create in one page we can adding code for the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and also C sharp. C sharp code can be all done in one page. After and lastly, we have the validators. In the validators, we are creating some rules for restricting the data inputted from the users. So, as an example, in creating a new form, so the user cannot submit the form without by sending an empty bank name. So this field is important and need to be filled. So and as we can see, not empty. But if the user submitted without specifying the bank name, this will be will viewing a message which is bank name is required. So that was everything in my presentation. That was all. Actually, we cannot run our project because it is not finished and it's not compiled with other parts that the other employees was working on. So that was everything. Thank you for listening.